There are a lot of different tires out there, and it can be one of the most confusing parts of starting your motorcycle journey. There's tires for street bikes, dirt bikes, 50/50 tires, and then there's an entire world of specialty tires too. To help you get a better understanding of tires, this episode of Yammie Lube is a Tire 101 that will benefit everyone from the most novice of rider all the way to our crusty veterans. Now, because there's so much information out there about tires, there's no way it would actually fit into one video that's a decent length, so keep a lookout for part 2 of this particular series, and who knows, maybe we will start a Q&A series around other motorcycle parts. Welcome back to Yammie Noob, where our focus is on making riding accessible to everyone. If that sounds like something you can get behind or you just haven't done it yet, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, followed up by ringing that notifications bell to make sure you are always among the first in the know to know when a new Yammie Noob episode is available. But even if you don't do that, we upload on a daily schedule, so come back anytime and we'll probably have a new video. Now, let's get things started. The first thing you should pay attention to when it comes to motorcycle tires is the size. This seems pretty obvious, I know, but you would be surprised how many people have no idea what tire size is best for their motorcycle. They call the tire shop as if they have something to fit a 2011 Daytona, and then leave it up to the tire guy to decide which tire is best, which is good in theory, except the tire guy doesn't have a clue of how you're using your bike. Finding out what size tire is currently on your motorcycle is pretty fast and easy. Much like a car tire, you can find the size on the side of the tire. If you've got a new bike, the tires on it are going to be fairly standard and will work well for the bike, at least until you know what kind of riding you're going to want to be doing. If you picked up the bike secondhand from Craigslist or from a dealer, I suggest finding a copy of the owner's manual to get a better idea of what size tires should be on that bike. You never know what kind of mods the previous owner may have done or decided to make without doing any research, so take the 4-minute internet search and save yourself some possible headaches down the road. It's important to know as well that motorcycle tires are extremely different from car tires. They're designed to operate at a lean angle, they have different molecular properties, and overall, you can't budge too much in size on a motorcycle unless you make drastic modifications. For example, with cars, you can swap out wheels, and as long as you clear certain components like the brakes and the rotors, you can stick those suckers out of the wheel well and call it good. But because your motorcycle tire and wheel need to fit within the confines of your swing arm, you can usually only go up about a size, maybe 2 at the very most. And my personal preference on this is to just run the stock size from the manufacturer. That's going to give you the most balanced performance, and for newbies, that's usually the best call. But what do all these numbers mean anyways? Each type of tire is going to have a metric, alphanumeric, or a straight numeric set of information. The most common is the metric, but it isn't the only sizing option out there, so it's important to be able to recognize all 3 size styles. Each letter and number represents an important piece of data for your tires. Let's look at a metric example and break down all the bits and bobs. Let's take a 180/55 ZR17 sized tires, for example. Now, to sport bike dudes who are a little bit more experienced, this combination of letters and numbers are going to be very familiar, as this is one of your most standard tire sizes for rear sport bike wheels. The first number tells you how wide the tire is. So, for example, this tire is 180 millimeters wide. The next number tells you the aspect ratio of the tire. So this particular tire has an aspect ratio of 55. That means that the sidewall makes up about 55% of the tire's width. Then we've got some letters. The Z is the tire's speed rating, and Z in this particular tire is meant to handle Rossi-like speeds, specifically upwards of 149 miles per hour. The R stands for radial and is followed by the rim diameter. On this tire, the diameter is 17 inches. This type of setup is the most common sizing system out there. You'll see it on street tires, bike tires, ATV tires, and just about anything with a set of tires is going to have a size setup like this. Harley-Davidsons and old vintage-style bikes don't use metric sizing. Most of those tire sizes are what's called alphanumeric, and they look like this. MT9016. The last number is the rim size, and the first set of data means that this tire is the equivalent of a 130 series. You'll also see things like 73W and 74V. Just like in the metric system, the letters represent the speed the tire can safely support. In this example, one tire has a V and the other has a W. The V means that this tire is meant to stay below 149 miles per hour, whereas the W means the tire is built to sustain speeds of upwards 168 miles per hour. Then you've got the numeric only size guide. Tires that use numeric only tend to be on really old cars and motorcycles. Unless you're rolling around with a sidecar, you probably won't encounter a numeric only tire. But let me know in the comments below if you have come across one of those. What you will encounter is the next thing you should pay attention to, and that is tubes. Many tires can look exactly the same. You can even check the sizes and they will be able to support exact same speeds, weight, rim sizes, etc. The only differentiating factor is whether or not there's a tube. You can find out whether your bike is set up for tubed or tubeless tires with a quick Google search. The important thing is if you're running tubes, you keep running with tubes and vice versa. A tubeless tire is set up to hold air and seal properly by itself, but a tube tire can't seal air or hold air without the tube, so it's kind of important. Not all tubes are created equal, and I'm going to get into that a little more in the second episode of the Tire 101 series. There's lots of pros and cons to tube tires, and there's a reason why they exist in certain applications, but for the purpose of this video, we'll have to check in on that later. It's also important to make sure that you're using proper tires for street riding and off-road situations. In most cases, this is pretty clear cut. Dirt bike tires need off-road tires, a track bike needs track tires. The simplest way to know which is to think about the application of the tire. If you need grip in rocky, dirty, scraggly conditions, that tire needs to dig into that stuff to get grip, which is why dirt bike tires have big knobbies on them to grab and go. On the other hand, track day tires tend to be very slick with minimal tread. They're designed to heat up quick and give you glue-like grip, and usually not with the intention of moving any water or dirt or gravel around since the track is a controlled environment. But what about those hybrid tires like adventure bikes or scramblers like the one I picked up? If you have a hybrid bike, there are options available. You want to make sure what you put on your bike is DOT approved and it still has that gummy BFM compound that helps it stick. Something like that is going to be perfect for a dual rider, but keep in mind that the highway speeds are much lower on hybrid tires. They usually cap out at well under 100 miles per hour, so that's just something to keep in mind. Let's talk about one more thing before we head out in the second episode in the Q&A section: bias ply tires versus radial tires. The difference here is how the tire is going to be constructed, and if you're on a sport bike or a touring bike, you definitely want to pay attention to this. On a bias ply tire, the sidewall is going to be really stiff, so they'll be able to handle a lot of weight. Usually they have a load rating of 1,000 plus pounds, so they're ideal for larger bikes, larger riders, or if you're doing a lot of cruising and you know your bike's going to be weighed down with supplies. These tires would be terrible on a sport bike though, which is why the 2015 Yamaha R3 with its bias ply tires was dragged through the mud from several reviewers who were more than confused as to why Yamaha put such a bad tire on a great bike. For a more agile riding experience, you want to go with a radial tire. They were designed for high performance riding, they cool down quicker than most tires and are made to handle higher speeds and have a more flexible sidewall. That's going to make for better cornering, overall handling, and means your tires are going to last longer with hard riding because of how quickly they can dispel heat. I know I said one more thing, but there's one more thing you won't see on many bikes, but it's still out there. A lot of tires have these weird dots on them, and most riders have no idea what they're for. These are actually called balance dots, and they're used on bigger tires. The dots are there used to mark the lightest point on a tire so you can line them up with your valve stem. Since that's typically the heaviest part of a rim, pairing up with the lightest points on the tire creates balance and a smoother ride. And that's what we're all looking for, isn't it? A balanced, smoother, more enjoyable ride. So that's going to do it for part 1 of Motorcycle Tires 101. Thanks for hanging out with me and keeping it real. If you think we missed something or have a question, let me know in the comment section below. As a shout out to Ari Henning and Zach Quartz, the MC Garage has a great video called Street Bike Tire Categories Explained, and that goes into great depth about what tires you might want for your ride and why. When considering a street tire, which is what most folks are looking at, there's a pretty steep learning curve. You have touring, sport, hypersport, and track tires. So head over to that video and learn about tires if you can't wait, but we're definitely going to be covering that here as well. The long and short of it is, most people don't need hypersport tires, but they think they do. Pilot Road 4s are going to get you 80% of the way for most of the riding you're doing, and you will need to do and last loads and loads of miles, which is what most people want as well. There's a ton to know about tires, simple as they appear. So be on the lookout for part 2 of Motorcycle Tires 101. I'll be answering popular questions and fan questions from down below. So if you've been wondering about something tire related, drop it down below and we will answer your question in part 2. You maybe even will receive a Yammie wave and a shout out, and who doesn't want that? Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. See you later. Fact: chainsaws were originally invented as an aid for childbirth. I don't know if I believe that. Goodbye.